Initially, I began with theater writing. Afterward, I ventured into narratives, short stories, and novels. Later, I transitioned to script writing, requiring me to learn some new skills. The differences between writing one thing and another, for example, theater. I wrote a lot of dialogue. In narrative, I wrote many thoughts of the characters. The inner world of the character could take me 20 pages to describe, and suddenly I arrived at cinema. And cinema posed a challenge for me, which was audiovisual writing. What does that mean? A type of writing focused on what one can see and hear on screen. I had to convey emotions to the audience and make my character come alive. Initially, I found this quite challenging, didn't I? It seemed daunting at first, to be honest. I asked myself how to shift from expressing emotions literarily to conveying them visually on screen. To having that emotion be through an action and something that I know a camera will be in front recording and must capture that. Along the way, I learned several things. I discovered that working with sound was crucial. It was essential to convey emotions visually through actions captured on camera. And that one shouldn't leave sound for last. One should not assume that sound will be managed by someone else or at a later stage. The director, or later a sound engineer, but I realized I could integrate sound, which had distinct characteristics, into the project. It might be employed to make an emotion clearer, or it could serve another purpose, to save on production costs. For example, if we see Lost in Translation, the beginning is a black screen and a voice telling you that you are at Tokyo Airport. And you hear suitcases and sounds of different languages, and you immediately transport yourself to that airport. Welcome to Tokyo International Airport. And then you see a character in a taxi, and you never think, no, he wasn't at an airport. I didn't see him at the airport, no. The sound transported me, making me feel as if I were truly there, immersed in that environment completely. Picture scenes beginning with a crash. Suddenly, a black screen appears, accompanied by a loud crash sound and screams echoing around. A cut transitions to a scene featuring a woman, enhancing the narrative. Lying in a hospital room, being closely attended to by doctors, I will immediately link the two scenes and say, well, that woman was in the crash. Otherwise, you wouldn't have shown me the crash before. But that crash, I didn't need a big production. I didn't need to get myself a street car crash, but I recreated it using sound effects and creativity. That sounds thrilling to me. Honestly, I have many friends who are sound engineers. I deeply admire and believe they have a sensitivity, unique, and a screenwriter must know something about sound. On the other hand, we have scenes in the history of cinema that would be nothing without sound. I want us to do a very brief exercise now to see one of the most important and emblematic scenes of Hitchcock's cinema. Right? Psycho. I'm not going to tell you what the scene is about because I don't want to spoil it, but well, you'll discover it immediately. And we're going to do the exercise of watching it first without sound and then with sound, and we'll see how it leads us to a completely different emotion from the scene. In this scene without sound, we can understand what happens. There is a woman taking a shower who is our protagonist. In this scene, a woman, our protagonist, is showering when she notices a shadow with a knife poised to attack her. The action unfolds with the tragic death of our protagonist. Naturally, we perceive and recognize her expression of sheer terror, and her terrified face upon discovering what will happen to her. Let's see what happens. It's when sound amplifies an emotion, enhancing the experience profoundly. see how the scene changes the relationship? How sound profoundly amplifies our emotions as viewers? In an audiovisual script, we never employ sound without purpose or intention. Explore verb tenses such as the past, present, and future. We will always use text in the present. Claudia runs, Claudia walks, Claudia looks suspiciously. These are all precise actions that an actor will be able to execute, and that, of course, the entire team will be able to film. And imagine if it were said in the cinema, Claudia was walking. But how? Claudia, how are we going to film her walking? What does that mean? Claudia will walk as a future action. How do you film a future action? It's like we're talking in a much more literary plan. Here we are going to move to the plan of the image, and how that image is always constructed in the present of an action. I've already discovered the ending of my short film, and that makes me very happy. I'm nearly certain, about 99%, that this marks the movie's conclusion. My belief is that once Claudia has the money, she will proceed with her plans as she intended, and successfully pays off her debt, correct? She experiences a moment of peace and tranquility, and she goes to purchase something with a sense of relief. Gurka at a store, they share an ice cream, something they both like, and when everything seems to be going well, she returns to the campsite, then realizes that the man she stole from is at the campsite and is next to her mom. That is, he has already talked to her mom, and in reality, they are both waiting for her. So, she thought she had achieved her goal, but in the end, she didn't. But what happens right at the end? She already feels accompanied by Gurka. So we're going to do something that might seem a bit strange at first glance, but don't worry, it's achievable. When Claudia approaches the man, Gurka will be there standing in front of her as a protector, ensuring her safety. Smiles at him, feeling safe, and that will be the moment when I say Claudia has already discovered something about protection and a different bond than they had. So now, I imagine that I really like it. For now, you know that writing is about the transformation not only of what one writes, but also of oneself as a writer. So you have to know that things will change as you write them, and that is essential. One cannot be stubborn in writing. This list of scenes is just the bare bones, right? It's the foundation, not the complete picture. But now, we require something more. We need flesh, veins, skin. We must cover that by grasping what's occurring in the scene.